Bren, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Kai.
I'm very interested in the area of apprenticeships, and I understand you have a scheme. Can you tell me what was the motivation for AVIXA getting involved in the area of apprenticeships?
Sure, there are really 2 points. The AVIXA Foundation does scholarships.
Right.
And the scholarships are really sort of focused on the North American educational market, and they fit the way that market works.
Right.
So a student is moving, they've gone through grade 12, and now they're going to do 2 years or 4 years, and they apply for money to support that, right?
Right.
But it's very, very much North American.
Yeah.
And in talking to our colleagues in other parts of the world, apprenticeship seemed like the sort of thing that would be more fitting in Latin America, in Europe, the UK, and in Asia. So we started to think about, well, how do we develop something that would lead to apprenticeships globally for AVIXA, so that we'd be addressing the workforce issue globally. And that's where it came from. It came from that, and recognizing that we needed to do more outside of North America where AVIXA was founded. We needed to do more everywhere else to continue to grow the global footprint.
Fantastic. That sounds like a great initiative. What will the apprenticeship program look like? How will it work? What can people expect?
Our role is it's a framework more than a program.
Right.
So our goal is to help companies create programs.
Yeah.
So think of us as like we're the picks and axes, helping companies find the gold of talent. We're going to show them, here's how you set the program up. Here's how you find your champions inside. Here's how you find your champions at secondary education level, or maybe in community groups. Right? A lot of people come to AV through some other organization. My first AV job was running the sound at the Hillel on my college campus. I didn't even think about it being an AV job until recently. Then it was like, oh yes, that was my first AV job. Lots of people come to AV through worship or other things that they may participate in. So the goal is to go to some of those community organizations, help the companies understand how to go to them, and to have them be the feeders into the companies of potential young people who could get into an apprenticeship and learn the field while also being paid.
Right.
And I'll add that it's not just for young people, it's also for mid-career people who maybe they want to transition from being in marketing to something technical, or maybe they've been working in sales and IT and they want to try AV. An apprenticeship is a good path to get there.
Okay, so what should a company do if it wants to get involved in an AVIXA apprenticeship? How will that work?
What they should do is they should reach out to us at the AVIXA Foundation, and we can supply them with the information around the framework, and then we'll help them move through it. The other thing that we're looking at doing, or that we've talked about, is having mentors from other companies. So there are companies who have very, very strong apprenticeship programs, like Shure has one, QSC they have very strong programs, and we've asked those people mentor new people as they're trying to do this, because it's always hard to start a new initiative, especially if you're in an established organization. Sometimes it takes a lot of work to get everybody seeing the need and the value. So we want to make sure that they're successful. The more companies that are successful, then they can go mentor others.
When looking at this framework, did you identify any things where you'd say, here are some characteristics of a good apprenticeship, and here's like a few no-nos?
Yes. Characteristics of a good apprenticeship. One, it should pay well.
Right.
Because, and I firmly believe in this, helping people understand their value from the beginning. So we're saying you have value right now. The other thing is the person who is in the apprenticeship should have a clear idea of who their supporters are, who's at the table for them. They should have a clear idea of what they're going to get out of the apprenticeship, some clear objectives of what they're going to learn and what they're going to be able to apply when they later go to get a job. And ideally, it would have a transition point where that person could go from being an apprentice to being fully employed. I think the biggest thing to avoid is isolation.
Oh,
Isolation of the program or isolation of the apprentice. So think of them as being a part of your organization already. Even though for some it'll feel like a trial, we're trying this person out, include them in things. Sometimes apprentice programs, someone may go in thinking they're going to do something that they technically want to do, and they find themselves answering the phones.
or making a cup of tea.
Or making a cup of tea.
Right.
Right. And
That's an intern, that's not an apprentice.
Yeah.
Well, it should possibly
It
shouldn't
shouldn't be an
even
intern
need to-
anymore
Oh,
either,
right,
right?
okay,
Like
yeah.
we shouldn't have that mindset anymore
Right.
of like you gotta like, you know, pay your dues.
Mm-hmm.
We're all learning new again every day now. The conversation that we continually have at this particular conference around AI, if you're listening about what that conversation is, then you're realizing that we all have new learning to do. There are no experts anymore, so there's no reason for anyone to pay dues. And chances are that apprentice is going to bring something to you that you wouldn't be thinking about because they are working in a different sphere or living in a different sphere. They're seeing life in a different way than you see it, and you want to give them every opportunity to be at the table to share their point of view.
Fantastic. Well, I'd just like to say it sounds like a great initiative. I really look forward to this coming up. If you had to say if there was one thing that you could tell people about the apprenticeship scheme, one message that you think you'd like to leave them with, what would that be?
The message would be to look for value in every person you bring into your organization, no matter what level they're at. And if you can even get past the thought of levels and realize that everyone can make a contribution, an apprentice can make a contribution, and they can be the basis. Like I said, it's like the picks and axes of our apprentice the framework is supplying the picks and axes to find that gold. Let the gold shine. You know, when you find it, let it shine and let their voice be heard and give value to their voice.
Well, Bren, thank you very much for sharing that with us today.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.